All right, I'm making this video to how to jump and get a better vertical for basketball, for sports, whatever it may be, whatever your special needs are. So as a personal trainer that's worked with professional athletes, the key things are focusing on muscle imbalances, right? So hips, when you're jumping, hips is probably one of the most important things, right? So when you jump, you just don't jump like this, right? You'll actually bend at your hips, you'll hinge at your hips. And when you drive forward, that's what allows you to go up into the air. So the faster, if you watch my hips, the faster my hips come forward in this direction, the faster they can explode and use those fast twitch muscles, the more acceleration, the more power you can deliver throughout your legs into the ground to help drive yourself up into the air, right? So with that being said, let's talk about hip flexors, right? Psoas, all your IT bands, right? So you want to get these all stretched out, whether it's a stretch like this, right? A basic stretch. You can use bands. This is a great one. This is one of my favorite ones right here, right? I'll throw it up really high right here by the ass cheek, right? So this is my right side. I'm gonna kick really far back, right? Knees into the ground, weights right here. I'm gonna squeeze my right ass cheek, allow that weight to come forward. I'm gonna feel that all across my hip flexors, my psoas muscles. If you wanna kick it up a notch, you can even lean back and have your hands overhead to get all those flexor muscles all stretched out, right? Because when those muscles are tight, they're gonna be locked in this position. That's really common if you sit down a lot, if you drive a lot, right? Which is pretty much everyone nowadays, right? So you wanna open up these hips. This is gonna help allow you to drive these hips more forward because, like I said, if they're restricted, you're not gonna have that range of motion. Number two, let's talk about the posterior side. Hamstrings, glutes, right? These muscles pull and contract when I do this, right? So hip thrusts, using the band again. This is another popular one. Put it right here around my hips, my hip bone, walk forward, right here on my knees, right? So from this position, I'm gonna simulate hip thrust, right? So I don't always have to be doing it with a bar. Typically that's focusing on strength. Right now we're focusing on more acceleration and getting that explosive movement, right? So because jumping is the explosive movement. So you wanna simulate that. From here, I'm gonna pop forward. That's one. Control, pop forward. That's two. Pop forward. You're gonna feel those glutes fire, right? And that's where a lot of your speed and a lot of your power is right here in those glutes, right? Hamstrings. Let's talk about hamstrings a little bit. So hamstrings, glutes, that's where a lot of your speed and a lot of your powers is created. So hamstrings, you can do lunges. You can do something called RDLs. One of my favorite is RDLs. So let's say, for example, if I have some weights or some kettlebells. All right, this is an example. Right? Now, RDL is a Romanian deadlift, feet shoulder width hip apart. Make sure you're loaded and evenly in your toes and also your heels. Shoulders are always back, right? Core muscles nice and engaged, so draw those core muscles inwards. Hinge, right? And use those hamstrings. But the key thing is focusing on the eccentric. The eccentric is the elongation of the muscle, the downwards motion. So control, 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 push ass backwards. The threshold of where you should be stopping is not how far you can go downwards, but where you feel that stretch. So right now I feel that big stretch in my hamstrings. That's a good stopping point. Then I'll drive forward, snap out and lock out those hips without overextending. So that's what you don't want, right? So 3, 2, 1, lock out. 1, 3, 2, 1, and lock out. That's 2. Okay, so those are some great exercises that you can kind of focus on so far. And another one last one is a split squat, or not a split squat, but a split jump. So it's basically like a lunge jump. It's basically a plyometric. So it's gonna work almost the whole entire spectrum of your legs, your quads, your hamstrings, your glutes, the stabilizers, a little bit of everything, right? So how I like to do this exercise is 1 foot's forward, 1 foot's back. From here, I'm gonna jump into the air explosively, right? Then switch my feet in the air, land with the other foot forward. In doing so, the key thing and what most people, how they do this, which is incorrect, is they load that toe. You do not want that toe loaded the whole time. That's unequal distribution of weight. You want to have even distribution throughout the whole entire leg. More so, if you can, I want to say about 60% into the heel, 40% into the front side of your foot. The reason why is because it'll keep your knees safe, number one. Number two is it will load and create and force your hamstrings and your glutes to work a little bit more, which is not very common in everyday lifestyle. So in everyday lifestyle, you walk, go up and down stairs, you run, quads mostly doing all the work. Whether you're doing like leg curls or going out of your way to do the hamstrings or the glutes, it's kind of difficult. So really emphasize on that if you can, using the heels a little bit more. So from here, I'm gonna come downwards, right? And arm swing is also important. Right knee is forward, left hand's up into the air. Jump, that's one. Land with the other foot forward, that's 1, 2, 3. Get some air, it's 4. Get some air, it's 5. Get some air, that's 6. Whew, those are tough. So sets of 10 would be great, maybe 12, so 6 on each side. So those are split jumps. So hopefully you found this video informative. If you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave those comments and reach out to us at Formula Fitness if you need.